the creative in the crowd, what is that about? We are joined by a researcher, and we're also joined by an artist who participates in civic activism. And in those moments where you find artists are commenting on social matters happening, where do they get that information from? What do they use to make sure that the information is verified and it's authentic? And that, how do they respond to when the information that they shared was actually not authentic? So we're taking a look at how those things work together. And there's a research paper that was just shared recently by Utetezi, and we're basing that report on this conversation that we're having today. And I'm very happy to be joined by someone who participated in collecting information and data for that report. Yvonne Wamuyu, karibu sana. She's the one who's immediately on my left. She's a Kenyan researcher and a multidisciplinary artist whose work sits at the intersection of storytelling, social inquiry, and creative production with a background in theater and film. Karibu sana, Yvonne. Nimeshukuru sana kwa kuja kwako. And then a very familiar face, Muchiri Mike alias Zia Africa. Karibu sana.
Yeah.
He is also a Kenyan artist. He's a creative leader and a social impact champion whose work centers around art and advocacy. He rose to national recognition as a digital storyteller and civic voice, using humor and heart to mobilize young people towards social action. Thank you very much for joining us in this conversation. And maybe we just begin with your work, Yvonne.
Yes.
Because your work looks at civic participation beyond the traditional background.
Right.
It goes beyond, you know, the mandamanos, the ballot, petitions and whatnot. What do you see when you look at how artists and creators are functioning in that space right now?
I think, gosh, it is a beautiful space right now because the art space is vibrant in so many ways. And we are not, the civic part of our existence and the art, they're not separate anymore. Because you wake up every morning, and if you do not watch the bulletin last night, by the moment you open your TikTok, it's like getting into a bulletin through memes, through videos. So you find that artists are really putting themselves out there in terms of how they're expressing themselves, in terms of how they're commenting on things day to day. Not just because they want to say something, but because we are more aware now that what happens up there is shaping our lives in real time. What was in the bulletin last night, by 5 a.m. it's already affecting our lives. So I really love how artists right now, and I think what we looked at was not just the Gen Zs or the younger millennials, but through the generations of how artists have been engaging, but more recently with what has been happening and what we have been commemorating, like what we were celebrating yesterday. But how the intersection of all those things, how you can just take your phone, record a video, say something impactful, and it sort of just puts your voice into the movement that is still continuing with what other artists are saying. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Zia, just out of curiosity, Mike, how do you borrow from the things that Akina back in the day, Ngugi wa Thiong'o used to do, and they used to have the National Theatre closed at the doors because of the stories that we're telling, and the stories were very pushing for a certain agenda in terms of political freedom and all that. What do you think you have borrowed in your new way of actually doing activism through humor and heart, as you describe yourself?
I love that you call me Zia and then you call me Mike. Zote ni zangu. Yeah, and nice to see you, Wakio. Anyway, I believe that we live in such an interesting time, and we are lucky as a generation, the people who live at this time, because one of the advantages that we have when it comes to civic participation and relaying civic information is the era of social media. Social media has undeniably made things extremely easy for us, again, in terms of how information is relayed to other people. Because when you look at how civic content used to travel traditionally, it was the government, media, and then the citizens. Media was the middleman between citizens and the government. But now we're living in interesting times where citizens don't have to entirely rely on traditional media, and I'm saying this so confidently, on traditional media. They don't have to entirely rely on traditional media for civic information. They now have TikTokers, influencers, dancers, fashion creators, lifestyle creators make civic content in real time. And I would say one of the things that we have borrowed from, the people who have made our existence possible and our freedom of expression even more, easier and possible is we see and understand the weight of what we are saying and the weight of the work that we're doing, in the sense that let me connect my answer to your question with the 2024 protests, because I say this so many times. I say that the protests in 2024, they changed the psychology of citizenship, especially among young people. And now that young people, we live in an era where so many young people, a good part of young people live on social media. And, Kenya being the way it is, our social media has been heavily politicized. Kenyans are getting civic information firsthand. I would say one of the things we have borrowed is the lack of fear. Because I believe those guys, they didn't have fear. Yeah, the lack of fear. And also, again, we understand the weight of this work. And it's time for Kenyans to also say, stop politicizing art, because art has always been political. And art by itself is political. Yeah.
Wow. And I'll get back to you first. But when I look at the report that Utetezi came up with, and drawing on today's how civic energy looks and how it moves in the age and time that we're in today, what surprised you the most about the role of art and creative expression with the data that you are collecting?
I'm not sure I would say what surprised me the most, because sometimes by the time you're looking at, as a researcher, you already sort of have the hypothesis that you sort of have in mind, and you say, maybe I'm going to the ground to confirm what I already think. But I think one of the most surprising things was the willingness of those people who are not able to get on the ground themselves, because not everybody can be on the streets for various reasons. Maybe some people are afraid of maybe what that would look like in terms of if they make their face public, maybe they have a brand endorsement, for example. What would that look like? Would they lose it or something like that? So there are people who will not be able to be the front-facing part of the Mandamano, but their willingness to still be part of it in terms of supporting those who are going, maybe like what we were seeing, like people will say Nitumieni fare or something like that. People will just have a number and then send to buy water or masks, something like that. So the most interesting part is that even for those people who are not there on the ground, even those who are supporting from home, the energy is still the same. Yeah. So that was a beautiful thing to observe. Yeah.
Okay, and what about misinformation? Misinformation and activism have a very complicated relationship. Indeed. From the report that you had, what were your findings and how misinformation is able to navigate the space of activism? From the angle that we took it as, mostly because of the participation, how the dynamic of even how people were organizing themselves, how they were putting information out there, because as he has said, it was mostly focused on social media and what you're able to get. So it is just about the story that you get fast, because you're not really able to verify in real time from the fact-checking. For example, the traditional forms of fact-checking, like let's say looking at 2-3 sources, or having like the sites that you can go to fact check. So you cannot do that because the information is moving so fast. By the time you're being told, hey, we're on this side, hey, we're on this side, you genuinely just have to show up and find that out for yourself. But in terms of the misinformation, I think it does not really hinder the participation so much, because the energy that was carried through when people are trying to just come up, show up, it is mostly firsthand. The people who are on the ground are informing those who are coming behind them. The way the Kenyan system, for example, the way drivers you'll find when they're in traffic in the morning,
perhaps like someone who is way ahead will tell the people who are coming, hey, don't do this, there's this happening, there's this happening. So in real time, you find that people are trying to circumnavigate. Like they say, there is information coming through this way. Guys, is it true? You just check within your networks because you're not able to fact check any other way. But now, as now the days separate more, when things are not moving so fast and you're not on the ground. So afterwards, in terms of participation, like let's say we can say 2 years now. Right now we can stand and say, okay, this is what happened. Now we have enough data to look at it and say, okay, this is what actually happens. These were the ramifications. This was the impact on my art. This is what actually happened factually. But that is only a benefit that you've had just because of the time and the separation.
You see, influencers have a lot of influence because they have so many people who follow them. And so if it's not factual, then it can really send a lot of people into a different direction. How is it for you when you hear something, something breaks out and you are following it and you want to share information about it? Take us through the process of how you get the information. How do you get what you say? And how do you verify it? And then how do you, before you click post, what do you do?
If anything, 2024 taught me to verify information. Because especially during that protest time, there was a lot of misinformation. There was also disinformation. You know, there was also intentional wrong information that was released on social media to just create confusion. But also as someone who has a platform, not just on X, but also on Insta, TikTok, and every other social platform, I think I've come to understand that my words matter and what I post matters because there is someone, not just someone, there are people who follow me, and whatever I say, regardless of it being the truth or not, they will take it as the absolute truth. Correct. So it's also up to me as an influencer. I think it goes back to my integrity and also my discipline as a creative. And again, I also have to understand that this matters when it comes to relaying information that has to do with civic, government, policy, bills, and law. It has to be accurate. It also has to be factual, so that, you know, no one can find the grounds to dismiss my claims or to dismiss and say that whatever you said on your socials was false. So on my platforms, I do a lot of content around bills, around policy. I basically translate complex civic conversations into formats that can be easily understood, especially by young people. And by doing so, I have created a culture where I collaborate or I engage with experts like yourself. I go through articles, I read through, if I'm talking about a certain bill, a certain policy, a certain article in the Constitution, I read the relevant articles and the relevant materials that can back up my content. And I also believe it's important for influencers, and not just influencers, anyone with a platform on social media to, because Kenyans, we can get really emotive. When you look at X is such an emotive platform. Something unverified information can come on X, someone post it, and you know, by the mere fact that thousands of people have interacted with that particular post and tweet, many people can assume because thousands of people have interacted with this particular post, it has to be the truth. Exactly. It has to be the truth, yes. And I can't. There's no need of verifying. So this is my call to influencers or anyone with a platform. Let's go beyond that emotive culture that we Kenyans have, especially on a platform like X. Verify your information, because there is someone somewhere who takes your word as the absolute truth simply because you are the person who posted it.
And when you say verify, what tools are there? Are there any infrastructure, you know, like tools and networks or habits that creators can actually utilize to be able to verify before they amplify?
Right. I think there have been, since that time and even now as we continue to grow, there has been the need for research and reports like what we're doing now, because you find that it is very important for us to curate our processes. It is very important to create databases for where we can find that sort of information. So for the reports that have come out, the ones that we have done, I have seen a couple that have been out in the space. There has been a lot that has been collected from different angles. So those are very important places to get data of who was on the ground, who was doing what, who is doing what is happening, who are participating. But at the same time, in terms of the call-outs that are being done, there are various platforms that you can check. There, even nowadays, something like Meta has a button for verifying the information that you're posting out there, or a picture like Google can tell you, okay, can you trace back to the original source? Has it been altered? Is this video, or even look at a video and think, okay, this does not look recent. Maybe you can critically look at a video or a picture and think, okay, now this one looks like maybe it was from some time in the past, but it is for you to check and be very careful about what you're consuming and say, okay, this might have been reshared from another country. We've had such instances where someone has just taken something from protest somewhere and then it makes it look like...
Yeah, this is what is happening right now.
Exactly, because at the same time, art and politics and propaganda, as he has said, very deeply entrenched. And nowadays, with so many AI tools, you find that wow, deepfakes are unbelievably beautiful to create.
They're beautiful to create. Mike, have you ever found yourself in a situation where you have said something or you have posted something and then you want to track back?
Yeah.
Because there's information there that was not valid.
I remember there was this photo that was widely circulating. And the reason why, now I saw it on Twitter, someone was saying, it wasn't someone, it was an image with branding of an international media house reporting that Kenyan policemen are using dangerous chemicals on protesters. Yeah, it was widely circulating. And let me tell you, when I tell you it was widely circulating, more than 20,000 reposts. So I reposted from, the person who had posted. And then I saw someone, and the good thing, we have to give it to Kenyans also. There was also a part of Kenyans who were saying, please verify information. This is false. This is false. This is false. And then I saw someone flag it, whatever I had reposted. Please stop reposting this. This is false. And then I had to go back and repost. But I also want to build on what she said, because you are a researcher. I read through your report. It was incredible. I was telling her earlier, Baraza Media Lab has done a similar report. They explored how the role of influencers when it comes to civic action and protests. And recently, Baraza Media Lab did a convening where they wanted to understand the work of journalists, and they also wanted to understand the work of creators. So journalists, creators, and researchers. And these are three people who should be working together, especially in a time like this. Because the thing with journalists, there were sentiments from that convening that journalists may be viewing creators differently because they believe we are the ones who went to school for this. We are the ones, we have the skills. So you just have a platform. What are you saying? You can't tell me anything. And then researchers, I believe they are so heavily engulfed in their work, they forget that this work has to be communicated to people. Because not everyone... It cannot stay in reports and papers. It cannot stay in reports and papers, yeah. And even if it's in reports and papers, you have to find a middle ground to communicate to people this report. And, we as the creators were saying to the journalists, you have to understand that you might have the skills. You might have gone to school for this. But we, the creators, we carry the audience. We understand the audience. We are the bridge between your research. We're the bridge between your report and the audience. We understand. We carry the emotion of the people. We understand the emotions of the people. So if you want something communicated to the people, collaborate with us. Come and tell us, we did this report. These were the findings. Can you communicate this with your audiences? So when you asked her whether they have any tools, whether researchers have any tools to verify, I think it's important. It's time for journalists and researchers to start collaborating with each other and also with creators to loop us in so that to kill that that demon that's called misinformation. Yeah.
I think that's absolutely important,
Yeah.
and not just from their side, also the willingness from the creators to learn methodologies of how to share information as well. How did it happen for you? From your creative, humorous work that you're doing, the comedy pieces that you're doing, all the way to civic activism. How did it occur for you?
I tell people, the 3 years ago me, if they saw the current me, we would laugh. Because me talking about politics on my platform, talking about the finance bill, the business laws amendment bill on my platform. When I started off as a traditional influencer. I started off doing comedy, collaborating with brands, FMCG brands, skincare brands. But I remember my first piece of advocacy, my first piece of content that was advocacy related was about femicide, and this was in 2022. And when I did that video and I saw the impact that this video had, I saw the need to move towards advocacy-oriented topics and advocacy-oriented content. And one of the biggest realizations that I've had as someone who leans more towards advocacy, creating advocacy-related content is people actually do care. When you give people the right information, when you give people context and a call to action, because one of the things I have realized when I do civic content on my page, most people ask, now that you've told us, what do we do? As citizens, we care about this, now what do we do? When you give people information, context, and a call to action, they are willing to go an extra step. They are willing to exercise their civic responsibility. And I think it was from that realization that I got emboldened to continue doing this work and the confidence to just continue and educating people on their civic responsibilities.
And I'll get back to you with what you can tell a young creator out there who's interested in doing this, but they feel some sort of pressure. When they want to be quiet, they feel the pressure to speak. Their DMs running into you, telling you, why are you not commenting? Why are you not saying about this and that? And maybe you're not sure or you don't have information. What would you say to that creator who's coming up? But first, maybe I'll finish up with Yvonne, and from a civic participation standpoint, what would you say? What would you say to someone who's saying, I'm still learning about this and I'll share what I want to know. I want to participate and I don't know how to participate. Does it count if I participate? Can I just be quiet? What would you say from a research standpoint?
Okay, I think what the data shows, because we were working with the numbers and the information that we have gathered from the people that we talked to, every voice counts. It does not matter whether you decide, for example, to just go on socials and your work is to, for example, to flag what seems like it is misinformation, if it seems like yours is just to share that meme in the morning, if yours is to read the Constitution and break it down in a post, if yours is to whatever way that you feel that you can add your voice to what is going on, it is your patriotic duty as an artist, whatever it is that you do. For example, we have seen an uprising, and it is, as he was saying, it is a beautiful time to be an artist in this country, because we are starting to own our crafts, we are starting to own our arts, we are having so many music festivals. These are all spaces for us to talk about what is important to us. It is no longer just going to listen to a song just for the sake of it. It is time to let it make you feel something, and from that something, take action, as he has said. You do not just sit idly about it. So in whatever way that you can contribute, whether you're at home, whether it is supporting someone else who is doing something, do that thing.
Thank you so much. Let's get to that question I just asked you.
Mike.
And
so,
we'll wrap it up, because time is really not our side.
So let me just paint this context to Kenyans. I am an influencer. I work with brands. I work with brands either directly or through an agency. These brands or these agencies have very, very specific regulations as to how, specificities as to how we work with each other. There are some brands that will tell agencies, we don't want to work with influencers who are too politically loud, who are too involved in the civic space, yeah, we are looking for neutral influencers. So as an influencer, there is pressure. There is pressure to be very, very palatable to the brands I work with, to the agencies that give me work, to the agencies that give me gigs. And I also feel like I owe it to Kenyans or the people who gave me an audience to speak for them. Yeah, so the pressure is coming from both sides. That's context one. Secondly, there are people who really want to help out when it comes to these civic conversations, when it comes to these civic-related issues, but they just don't know how to. They really don't know how to. And I want to remind Kenyans, and I have said this before, having 1 million followers does not mean that I have the capacity to hold these heavy civic conversations on my platforms. So it would really be unfair for Kenyans to bring cancel culture to these issues. And any influencers, sometimes influencers, they really want to hold these conversations on their platforms, but there's a lot at stake. There's a lot at stake. Yeah, that's what I would say.
Thank you so much, Zia. Thank you so much, Yvonne, for joining us and having this conversation with us. I think my greatest takeaway is that collaboration is really important between the researchers, the journalists, and the content creators, because I think the synergy that is going to come out of there will give us more information and move us away from misinformation, disinformation, and give us what we really need to hear. So from all of us here in TV47, I just want to wish you all a very good night from myself and Brother Nyamai, who is a sign language interpreter. Good night.